Hang in
Dude,
there. It is.
that's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Hello, Smylie.
Hola.
How you doing?
What's good?
Not much, man. What's good with you? We're you know, I guess we've pulled the curtain back a little bit. We've told everyone that we're trying to get you healthy. We're in a flu game situation, and how are we feeling now that we've assessed this morning?
Man, I've just felt terrible since last Monday, and
You've been battling.
like I sound fine. So as far as like being able to do my job, which is speaking, it's not like the worst thing in the world. But I tell you what, I'm ready for this just headache situation to go away. Just found out I have like an ear infection, which is I always question how bad they really were. You know, I used to get them as a kid, and my daughter, who's had plenty of ear infections, would scream very loudly in discomfort, and I was like, is it really that bad? And I've been a bit of a baby lately, so I definitely have newfound respect for kids with ear infections.
It's always good to question whether your 2-year-old daughter is milking it or not. I'm glad you're able to go ahead and just ask the tough questions there in that household. I mean, I'll tell you what, it's about that time of year. We had our first tournament this weekend. It was kind of getting dusty and stuff was blowing around, and we're heading to the Masters in a couple weeks, which I'm so excited. Like 99% of me is so excited about that. But there's the 1% of me that knows that you get down there and it's this vivid blooming of trees and everything's popping, and it's just like my yearly kickoff of allergies, where I did not, it was kind of on me last year. I brought the wrong formula to Augusta, Georgia last year to get through the allergies, and I had to make a midweek switch up, hit a little pharmacy, switch from tablets to spray, and kind of got it right heading into the weekend. But that usually for me is a good litmus test of how bad I'm going to get the seasonal allergies every year when I go down to the Masters.
You know what may help clean that out this year? It's just eating good old-fashioned Baconators every night. Just like we did once last year, because nothing was open. Because we're hustling, trying to get content out for all of you, which we love doing, but also grind don't stop and the bellies don't stop either. So we gotta keep eating. And you and I both went to that Wendy's without telling each other. It was like, you too, huh?
You know what? I kind of love this. Like we'll do the daily journals right when play ends. But at least one of those nights we have to have Jax fire up a Instagram live of us going through the Wendy's drive-thru together and just recapping the Masters with Baconators in hand. Like I feel like that's kind of where we need to be.
I think I was on the phone with my wife and I was like, Fran, I haven't been to Wendy's in forever. Help me with this menu. And she's like, I think they have like a chicken like snack wrap thing, and there's maybe a couple other options she shouted out. And they asked like, "Are you ready to order?" I was like, "I'll have the double Baconator, please." She's like, "Okay, well, why did you need my help?"
Why don't you throw in a Frosty there too while you're at it?
100%. I mean,
you can't stop me at that point. I love it. Well, I'm excited for that. And I'll be honest too, in the whole context of the sick thing, you know, I was in and out this weekend, but I'm surprised you made it. You were down there for happy hour. I was like, whoa, Smiley's battling.
Yeah,
like, you know,
listen, it's something I can easily work through what I have going on, but it's just a weird one, you know, when typically over a span of 7 days, you see signs of improvement, and I've just been exactly the same, which is just crummy for 7 straight days. And I wear a Whoop, so it's kind of cool to like get the feedback of like what that device tells me as far as just how healthy I am, and it basically tells me every morning, it says you're not well. I'm like, okay, good to know. When I wake up and it just feels like I have bricks in my head.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't wear a Whoop because I'm afraid to know, among other reasons. But that's like the main one. Like after this weekend, this first tournament, I would have been like, yeah, maybe just take this off, put this away for a few weeks till we get it right.
Well, I'm starting to sleep better, which is good. I'm
good.
When I'm not sleeping good, something's wrong.
Yeah. That's no one. I mean, that's what they say. It's like you can do a lot of bad things to your body if you're getting less than the recommended amount of sleep. That's an uphill battle you're fighting at that point.
Yeah.
So look,
but yeah, we got a plan. Got a plan together
Work the
as far as
plan.
how we're gonna get back healthy. We got Houston on deck, and then San Antonio. Then, like you said, Augusta coming up. So it's 8 weeks in a row for me. We're 5 down, 3 to go. So it's been a grind, but this is what this is part of it, man. This is what I do for a living. It's great.
It's the Florida Swing's officially concluded. We're on to Texas, and what a finish this week. The Valspar with two,
really
big
was,
notable
man.
names at the top of that leaderboard. And obviously, want to talk about both Viktor Hovland and Justin Thomas. Actually, wait, before we get to that, Ruben in the comments says, let me put this up. Oh my, this sounds amazing. Fat tip: pour a Wendy's chili on a baked potato and thank me later.
I don't
Ruben,
doubt
that
that.
sounds amazing.
I don't doubt that at all.
Just split it and put.
I
the
think
chili.
we need a lot more advice from Ruben. If
Ruben.
that's one piece of advice he can give, I would love to hear more about what's up his sleeve.
Ruben, I love it. Keep it coming. And actually, I might be getting in your lane this week because after my yet another one and done miscut, I think I'm going to give out.
You missed the cut?
I missed the cut, Jake Knapp. I think I'm going to give out recipes on Instagram Live this week. I'll let you do the picks and I'll give out Instagram recipes. And then we'll wait till, and then I'll just say the player's name at the end of the recipe, and then we'll see if I can get it back on track.
Listen,
Tough
nobody had Viktor Hovland winning this week. If you did, you're seeing the board. I don't think anybody in their right mind would have said Victor's is a right idea this week. But for those that took him this week and played him, good on you. I didn't have that faith, but man, oh man, it's good to see him back in the winner's circle and playing good golf. We'll see how consistent he'll be coming up. That'll be the big question, but surely a great win for him.
Well, and in my brain, I really was. I promise you, I was thinking about taking JT to do the fade or the. It's the tail Smylie last week play, and of course I didn't suggest or use him, and of course he finished his second. But it's my own fault. The place I want to start first here before we start talking about JT and Vic is something you tweeted about, which I think is really interesting and worth unpacking and explaining to everyone, because we have this Florida Swing and we have, these two shoulder events. Of course, the main events are the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill, a signature event, Arnie's event forever. So it's got a legacy there. Tiger won there a zillion times. We all remember from playing the early Tiger Woods video games. And then we have, of course, the Players' Championship. Like Sawgrass is iconic. Those two are the major tentpole events. But on the front end, we have the event in Palm Beach, the Cognizant, and then we close the Florida Swing at the Valspar, the Innisbrook Copperhead course in the Tampa area. And you just talked about on Twitter how this is a highly underrated course and event, and the type of finishes it provides, and we're going to get into a little bit later in the show, just the challenge it provides and the way it kind of drives some guys crazy, just why it's a great setting for interesting tour golf. Can you just kind of unpack or explain that a little bit for everyone if you're feeling well enough to do so?
Sorry, I literally just choked on my water a little bit. All good. Yeah, it's a tour players. One of the most underrated places, mainly just because of the golf course. Nothing necessarily other than that, just that it's a really good track, one that requires you to be good, off the tee, into the green, and around the greens has plenty of rough. So you just get tested in every single way on this golf course. Throw in, big, tall trees that has wind kind of sweeping in and out and through, so it's hard to get a pickup of the wind. And then we had plenty of wind. Thursday was kind of a weird weather day where it was blowing most of the day. Then a front comes through. Guys playing rain on Thursday afternoon. But yeah, it was. This week was unlike as far as just a Sunday finish. We had so many big time shots and putts hold, which when I turn the TV on, if I was a golf fan, I want the back nine on Sunday to have a back and forth with guys making putts. And I love the way the golf course is set up. I think it's so unique with 3 par 3s on the backside, also with 2 par 5s, but just the uniqueness of like the 13th hole and some traditional hole locations that they use, like the back right pin at 13, I think is one of the coolest par 3s you play all year. That you're only hitting a 9-iron, but it's literally 10 feet from the front to the back, which is I mean, I don't know what other golf course you can probably compare that to. Maybe a Hilton Head has some small corners like that, but just felt like overall this course just continues to, any type of player can win on it. You don't have to be the longest guy in the world. It does help to be in the fairways, but I think you saw a really unique leaderboard this week.
I think it's almost too big to ask you to rank all these for all time, but just the way they played on this Florida swing this year, could you just kind of sequence the courses you enjoyed the most between PGA National, Bay Hill, TPC Sawgrass, and the Copperhead course here at Innisbrook?
Well, I think there were 16 guys that only played all 4 of them, and I think only 4 that made the cut in all 4. I think
Can we give those guys like a bonus, like a kicker 50 FedEx Cup points, or like a little star, like a Pizza Hut book club thing?
I'm gonna try to remember who the 4 players were. One was Shane Lowry, one was Corey Connors, Jacob Bridgman, and I knew the last player, but I've totally forgotten. Anyways, that's really good golf on that stretch. But if I had to rank them, I mean, the old Honda, the way that golf course used to be set up, definitely prefer that way more. It would be on the bottom now. I just recently gave the top 5 PGA Tour golf courses, and PGA National was on my top, but it's very much slid down the rankings due to lack of hustle in the rough, I think is the only way to put it, but still one of my favorites. And then Bay Hill, I don't want to play that golf course. I enjoy commentating on it. It would be my least favorite one to play because of how difficult it is. And then players, just easily number 1. Just love how that golf course, just it's perfect. I mean, just so good. I love the holes, and just the different shots you got to hit every single hole out there. And then Valspar probably would be my second that I would want to play behind TPC Sawgrass.
There you have it. I mean, it's a pretty good run of courses. I mean, all extremely difficult. And I think the thing about Florida, of course, being that, and we saw it a little bit this weekend, like JT's interview after his round on Friday of just saying, I hope this wind keeps up so I can make the cut. But, these courses are tough in a vacuum, and then you mix in some wind and it really becomes a crapshoot. We saw it at a couple of events this year, but
what's annoying is that looking at the top 10 of the leaderboard, it was so predictable.
I know, right?
What are we doing? We're so lost.
Even guys I suggested for one and done, but I just didn't just make them my pick.
Yeah, like Corey Connors was a suggestion for you, right?
Yes. And
who else?
I had actually Corey Connors, the one that made the cut. But no, did I say Lowry? I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I said Lowry last week or this week.
You did.
We know who it's going to be. It should not be this difficult. I'm trying to get a little cute.
Shout out Jacob Bridgman, by the way.
Shout out the Bridgeman. How about that? You went with Sepp as your pick, but
yeah, how did he end up finishing? He was up there and then fell off.
Let me pull the one and done numbers here. I don't know what his finish position was, but he had 25 FedEx Cup points won, so he didn't finish super high. Scrolling. Yeah, we're at a interesting place. You're currently 58th on both the FedEx Cup and money list this year for one and dones. I'm 69th and 70th. And as aforementioned,
Sepp did okay. He shot 3 under yesterday.
Yeah.
He finished 28th.
Yeah.
Because I'd suggest Sepp, Chandler Phillips, Bridgman, and then Tom Kim, which I don't think Tom played all that well.
I thought he was going to miss the cut early on, and he kind of worked his way back.
He shot like 6 under on Friday.
Yeah, he had a good little day.
He finished 36th. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
4 top 36 guys. I mean, that's for a big field. I mean, considering where I've been.
It's an improvement. Let's talk about the guy who won the tournament, Viktor Hovland, because what an interesting and just Viktor. I think the charm in Viktor is his. And I've got some sound video I want to play for you in a little bit here, but just his the way he thinks about not just golf but life. Like, I don't know if anyone here follows Viktor Hovland on Instagram, but he'll post stories of very deep, dense texts, books he's reading that have nothing to do with the game of golf. He's just curious about learning things. When you had him on the show, we were talking to him, and I think it was the meme was the Roman Empire or something. He's like, no, I like to think about ancient societies, and I'm going on a tour with my mom. I'm like, okay, Vic, that's interesting, that's unique, that's different. And obviously, he was at the height of his powers after winning the Tour Championship, and then kind of went chasing trying to pull the yarn a little bit on a string the last year plus, and it's not gone well for him in that interim period. And then coming into this year, I mean, his last 6 starts worldwide, misses a cut in Dubai, finished tied for 22nd at the AT&T, miscut the Genesis, miscut at the API, miscut at Players, and then shows up this week and wins. He talked about hitting some disgusting shots this week. He had a quote that said, "I wasn't even sure I was going to play or not until I got here Tuesday afternoon and played a late 9 holes. Played 9 holes in the Pro-Am next morning, and we were here ready to go." And then goes out and wins a golf tournament. What did you, this week from Vic, despite all of that, just where he has in a mental space, what impressed you most about his willingness or his ability to kind of work through all that and go win a golf tournament?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great place to start with Victor. I'll say that at Bay Hill, I watched him for like 30 minutes practice on the short game area with a different coach. I don't know which coach it was. It wasn't Grant Waite. So, but
I think he's dropped another coach in between there. So.
I think
he said he was texting Grant Waite videos this week. So that's the latest on his coaching scene.
Yeah. So Shea Knight, who's I think one of the more underrated caddies on the PGA Tour, just fantastic dude. I think he does a really great job. He was kind of taking Victor through short game drills, and they were going all around the green, and there was a target goal that Victor was trying to achieve with every single shot as far as how close it needed to be. And so they did that for, I watched for like 20, 30 minutes, and they kept rolling with it. But I think when a player like him, who his short game greatly improved with Joe Mayo, I think that was like one of the things that totally, shot up his career, because his ball striking had always been there. And now we got the short game that complements it. So when Victor goes down these rabbit holes over the last year with his golf swing, all of a sudden you've seen that short game really dip. And so I think just the work that he's put in really at the beginning of this forward to swing, realizing, hey, if I'm going to like score and be somewhat decent, I need to have a good short game again. Victor's always, I felt like a really good putter, and hasn't putted well. He's changed putters a couple different times, back with old trusty. And then I think the chipping this week, if you go look at the stats, man, the scrambling stats were really good. Back to, where he was from a bogey avoidance category statistic, right before I went out on the golf course, I was in the booth earlier in the day. You really started to see that, I think he was leading that category as far as not having many bogeys. I think he only had 4 or 5 on the week. So on that golf course, really, really good stuff. I would probably start there with Victor. And I would say just from the little amount of golf shots I got to see in person, what I really noticed, especially on Sunday, the driver is still not there.
Yeah.
Definitely not there. And what I tended to see was that it looked like he was getting underneath it. Like with Victor, when I can see him playing well, he's covering so much with his chest, and the face is like shut to square, and he's able to just burn and turn. And it looks like to me his tilts get a little off to where his right shoulder gets a little low. And for him, when his right shoulder's low, that's a kind of a two-way miss off the tee. And I saw a little bit of that with kind of some right shots. Now, it's not the right shots that I experienced, but the right shots that he experiences, which is frustrating for him, that I would be fine with. His misses were totally fine.
Is he still using that double pump move for if he's trying to hit a right to left shot? That was just something he was experimenting with earlier in the season.
I'm sure he probably still does it, but he didn't do it at all this week when I watched. So his iron game, though, that was something that he talked about. This was after his round on Saturday. He just basically said that, this is a positional golf course. It really suits my game. And if I can just put it in the fairway, my iron game, although I've been talking a lot about my golf swing, the iron statistics have been good over the last 2 or 3 weeks, is what he said. And that he's been getting a little bit more confident in that. And boy, I can attest to that little bit of confidence he has, because, man, I don't know what's going on in his head as far as like how he has to, like what all he's got to go in his brain to like be able to hit it straight. But I saw so many good iron shots this week from him.
Oh, the shots at 16 and 17 yesterday were just about as good as he gets if you're trying to close a golf tournament out. On the topic of what is going on in his head, I got about a 1:12 clip here for you from yesterday's winner's presser, just talking about the question is, do you see yourself? Shea Knight said in the post game presser as well, like just talking about him being a perfectionist. The question being, do you see yourself as a perfectionist?
Do you feel like you're a perfectionist?
I guess you can use that word to describe it. I just view it as if you put your heart and soul into doing something, you might as well do it right. And I've swung the club extremely well, and I think my ball striking has been really, really good over a long period of time. And then when it's not doing that, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to figure it out. And I think it's like, I find it kind of weird that we're professional athletes and the people that are wanting to improve are somewhat looked at as, oh, he's a perfectionist. He's out on the perimeter searching too much. It's like, that's what we do. We're here to get better and we're here to win tournaments. So if you're not going to try to get better, what are you doing? So it's like, especially when I know there's issues there. It's not like I'm inventing stuff. I have data that can show that what I used to do was objectively better than what I'm doing now. So why shouldn't I try to go back to what I used to do?
I hear that, and the thing it reminds me of right off the bat is when Jordan Spieth came on the show a while back and talking about this sort of spectrum of where you can live if you want to play successful golf. And you either have to not think about the swing at all and be very, just I swing it, I hit it, and just I kind of take it for what it's worth, or you have to be so immersed in understanding your swing that you know exactly what's going on when you're off, how to fix it, things like that. What are your reflections on what you just heard there from Viktor Hovland?
Well, I think technology has helped for good and bad. And I think for a case like Viktor Hovland, and even a Jordan Spieth, who you hear players like even Scotty say, I just want to get back to my DNA. And I think when guys get their swings measured in 3D, that's like their way of saying, I don't want to go chase swing theories. I want to go chase my golf swing when it's at its best. So when you're able to like measure, okay, this is all right, your pelvis is moving X amount this way and it used to be like this. It's like, all right, well, what do I need to feel to make it be more like this? And based on what I've heard from what Grant Waite and him are working on, this goes back to when I talked to Grant last year at Bay Hill when they briefly worked together before he went back and worked with Joe Mayo, is that he's trying to get him to not rotate quite as much with his torso on the way back in that first third of the golf swing. The more that he can keep the club lower and slower on the way back, it's going to slow his torso rotation down to where as if you get all of your like 3/4 of your torso rotation before the club is halfway back, the only thing that your arms can do is lift up and raise because you got nowhere else to go unless you just keep going around the bend like if you have tons of mobility in your torso. But he wants him to keep it a little slower, maybe keep the chest pointing at the ball a little longer, and then from there, like he's always been a player that goes end up. But if you can maybe eliminate that a little bit more to where he can kind of get the feeling of Jordan's kind of the same way. It's like bowed wrist, right wrist extension, and then basically just turn and burn. And there's not a player in the world like Viktor Hovland who can go hit a golf ball with all like the most freedom of hitting it straight and swinging hard at it.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if some of that, like when you look at some of these guys' swings, and Jordan most recently came on and was talking about trying to find his swing DNA again. And if you have a 3D model of a swing when you're in your young 20s, when you're most successful, and you're going back to chase that, what part of that becomes difficult? Just your body changing. I think of Jordan specifically of having a wrist surgery, and are you able to get in the same positions that you were able to when you were younger?
It's a great question.
And trying to kind of accommodate for that while still staying true to your best version of yourself.
That's a great thought, because I think players can, your bodies do change, and you're not going to always swing the same. You're not going to swing it the same way throughout your entire career. I think players strive to, but it's not easy to, because day to day, your body feels different. Your feels constantly change. You're constantly working on whether it's 4 or 5 pieces that you constantly monitor. One day it might be this. It's like, oh, I need to, one of the things that I don't do quite as well is I don't turn my right hip quite as good. So when you think about your golf swing, it's like, how can I, have this checklist of 4 to 5 things that you can just run through. And then after you get through those things, that's when you're just saying, okay, we just got to get this thing through the end of the round to where we can go toy with things or get my body realigned, because it's not easy to swing the golf club the same way throughout your career.
One of the interesting things in looking at the impact of the swing for Viktor specifically is moves up in the OWGR 19th to 8th in the world. And that, of course, does not include live players, and it's a different sort of time span. You go look at the Data Golf rankings, and he was 46th entering the week, jumps all the way to 29th, but considerably higher than where he is in the OWGR. The biggest move, just in terms of sheer numbers, was going from 105th in the European Ryder Cup rankings to 19th. And many of you may have already seen this year, but it was a worth a reminder for me, a little update that they're going away from the system they used in previous years. I'm not going to get too far in the weeds, but essentially the past Ryder Cups, there was 2 separate lists. There was 3 from one, 3 from the other, and then 6 captains picks. They've consolidated all those into one big list that combines events both from the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour. And there are you can win different amounts of points depending on the band that the tournament comes out of. So band 5 is major championships, 5,000 points. Band 4, PGA Tour signature events. The Players FedEx Cup playoffs, those are 3,000. Band 3 is DP World Tour Rolex Series events, PGA Tour regular events, so on and so forth throughout those 5 bands. And then it's all going to live on one list. So Viktor, to jump to 19th, I mean, he's a guy that was obviously one of the 3 stalwart performers on that European team in Rome. I don't think he's struggling maybe at the same level as Fitzpatrick overall, especially coming out of this win. But Fitzpatrick's guy, we feel like right now he might be on the outside looking in, and Viktor wasn't far off from that. I mean, how much more does he need to do this year to make sure he is, if he wins enough, he's qualified, but to make sure he's at least the captain's pick for Luke Donald?
Well, that's a great question, because this win definitely helped a ton, because I had started to sneak Viktor off of my team for him making the European team this year, just thinking how crazy that sounds. But the reality is he wasn't playing good enough to make that team with how good the start of the year has been for these European players. You're right. Him, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, they were the guys that they sent out every single match, and they were able to go get points. When you can have, whether it's 4 or 5 sessions going on, and you're able to send a Viktor, John Rahm, and a Rory in each different group, makes it to where, man, you got to play really well. You're going to have to go beat some, honestly, at that time, 3 of the top 5 players in the world.
Yeah. Well, a lot of season left, and even looking at, it's funny looking over at the, we'll talk a little bit about this when we talk about Justin Thomas, but you look at the U.S. rankings, and J.J. Spawn's at 6 based on the players. So there's a lot of golf left. There's a lot of major championship.
Dude,
to
isn't
get
that
through all
crazy?
these. It's wild. I mean, but it makes sense at this stage in the year. As you said on the show a number of different times, like let's get through some majors. Don't you think? I mean,
listen, man, hey, the points is, this is what the players agree to. And if JJ qualifies on points, he probably deserves to be on the team, right?
That would be something else. I mean, that if JJ, and that's no disrespect to JJ Spawn, it just would be, I think that would in some ways remind me of where we were for Rome. Again, no disrespect to Wyndham Clark or Brian Harmon, because they're gamers, they're phenomenal players, and they deserve to be there based on winning a major championship. But those are guys who hadn't played on a Ryder Cup team before. So if JJ takes one of those spots, then you're having a back-end roster debate about a guy who's got some form of experience, or he just didn't have the points to qualify.
We argued this. This was a couple years ago, and then maybe a little bit last year, wondering if that having 6 guys qualify and 6 picks, whether that was too much catered towards the captains having a choice of their roster. And this, so more so than any other year, I think it's important for the U.S. captain to have 6 picks. I think in years past, you would have said, he probably needed really only 2 or 3 picks to really sort out his roster, because you're going to pretty much run through the points for the most part. But I think this year, depending on what happens, there could be some guys that are outside that top 6 just based on just overall play. That he's going to have to use some picks on some guys and maybe stretch outside. And I think it's going to be a very difficult captain season for Keegan. As of right now, things can change based off of play. But I'll tell you what, you got to love where your team's sitting at right now if you're Luke Donald.
Without a doubt. And over on the American side, at least pertaining to this tournament, JT sweating the cut line on Friday, hard charges, over the span of the weekend, and then bogeys of 16 and 18 ultimately cost him. But, really felt like it was a good showing for him this week. If you look at, he's now 9th in the OWGR, 5th in the Data Golf rankings behind only Scotty, Rory, Colin Morikawa, and John Rahm. And if you go back and look at his play since the 2024 Tour Championship, 3 runner-ups, 4 top 5s, 6 top 10s, and no missed cuts. To me, you and I were talking about this separately as well. It almost feels like he was understandably pressing more the years when he wasn't playing, as well. But even, in playing good and coming close and not winning, for whatever reason, it feels like his disposition's changed a little bit. He's just, I don't know if it's the perspective of being a father. Molly Grace arrived last fall between the Zozo and the Hero.
Part of it.
But to me, it's like it's a guy that just seems like he has more perspective, and
Totally.
it's hard to go and to be at the bottom dregs of the game and wondering whether or not you're going to come back and then rebuild your game and get to where he is. I just maybe just overall reflections on the week for JT and where his mind's at.
Well, I think he was so reliant on other people when he was playing poorly that he was, whether it was dad being there, his swing coach and just having him watch every single shot, looking at video, analyzing it so much to where it doesn't, when you leave the course, all you do is think about how to make that perfect golf swing. So I think part of it was, even putting coaches that he's used really working very, very hard, even during tournament week. Like once Thursday started after the round with his coaches to try to sort through the day and fix what's ever going on. And I think he's just kind of gotten away from that a little bit, which is, I think, been kind of cleansing for him, which is just go out and prepare hard, work on his body hard, make sure he's strong enough to be able to, still hit it out there. And of course, be able to get on the positions he wants to. So I think that's been important. And I think he's just kind of gone back to just playing, JT golf, which is, really using his mind to get around a golf course. He's a very cerebral player. I think it's a reason why he finds his way up to the top of leaderboards, because he's no doubt extremely talented, but I think he really relies on course experience and then just overall experience of how to get himself into contention.
Where do you like him the most in the major slate this year? I mean, I think Quail,
a lot of
we
places,
like
man.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna have a great major season. I think Quail's a great start. I think Augusta, he's due for another good week there. I would be surprised, honestly, if he didn't find his way into contention those last 2 or 3 groups on Sunday. Just feels like he's going to be super competitive, especially the way he's driving the golf ball. And the putter's definitely started to improve a little bit too. So, I mean, if you're a JT fan, a lot to like about his game right now. And then, of course, the 2 out of 3 bogeys in the last 3, of course, Snake Pit is difficult.
Yeah.
I think if there's one criticism you can make, and I think this is the question to ask about this, which is the 16th hole, he has always hit driver on that hole in his career, where Viktor Hovland hit a long iron. And I think the question to ask here is it the right thing to do, knowing that you have a lead, is to hit something to where it's not going to get into trouble? Now, you very well could hit a 5-wood into the water, and you second guess. Like it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback now of saying, oh, well, you should have hit a 5-wood or you should have hit a 3-wood. And maybe he's not comfortable with those clubs on that tee. But it's worth asking, because Viktor Hovland, it's long iron, 7-iron to 4 feet, makes a birdie, and it's the 2-shot swing. He's hit plenty of great drivers on that hole in his career, but in that moment, all he had to do was to make sure he didn't hit in the water. And of course, he goes through the fairway into the trees, has to punch out, still makes a bogey. But I think the question I guess I would ask you here is from a strategy standpoint, if you go in your favorite golf hole that you've out at Hope Valley that you play, that you know, on this particular hole, you always hit a driver where maybe other people wouldn't. And then the tournament comes along on a Sunday of the member or whatever, and Charlie gets up on that tee, and then he hits the driver that he hasn't ever hit on this hole, and it ends up in a terrible place. You're like, man, why didn't I just hit this club off the tee?
Yeah, I mean, you're describing almost every tournament round I play ever. It's funny because again, this is very specific to my little world, but we have a par 5 8th hole that kind of is a slight dog leg to the right. And I can't hit the driver anything but right to left right now. And there's OB right there that comes into play for driver. And yet every time I'm insistent on going up to the tee and trying to hit a cut, and the 1 out of 10 times I hit it, I have like a little short iron in and an eagle putt. But every other time, it doesn't make sense to me to do anything other than, hey, why don't we just hit just an easy 4-iron, 0 stress, just stand up on the tee and hit it like you're hitting on the driving range. Hit a 6-iron to, a little gap wedge, a little comfy gap wedge you practice a zillion times on the range, and try to hit it tight and make a birdie.
Well, I'll tell you why. Is that your boys would be giving you...
They'll roast me.
They would roast you. And honestly, I hope they call me so I can roast you.
Well, one of them roasted me so bad in a game we were playing the other day that he vetoed my driver choice, and then I smashed it OB and then just like hurled my driver 40 yards down the fairway, and he was very quiet in the cart right up to my ball. I was like, it's okay.
Is there another sport that the fellas just don't support conservative play?
And I think golf has to be the most. Like, is there ever, if anything, if you think about other sports, it's like basketball.
Strategy. Like cornhole, hey, there's strategy involved.
Give me an easy shot. Like, let's get a layup. Don't try to shoot threes. Like, the equivalent
Stop
of that.
going for the triple 20. Let's just hit the easy one.
Shot. Keep taking, that's a golf equivalent. Keep taking half-court shots. One of them's going to go in eventually. It's like, guys, we got to figure out smart. But I do think it's, to bring it back to the Valspar, those two guys on their day are two of the best iron players in the world. And so if you're telling me, hey, here's a deal, you could try to get a slightly, now I know JT's also one of the best wedge players in the world, like, hitting his approach wedges. So, okay, there's an argument to be made there about what's going to gain more strokes. But if you're telling me, hey, you're going to have like sort of a mid iron, maybe, a shorter iron into the screen, but you're going to be safe off the tee, I'm doing that 12 out of 10 times to make sure that I don't give away any shots in that spot.
I'll say that too, that and you gotta probably take this into account, is that JT being the guy who's making the charge, and with not really a good leaderboard situation to check out to know if Viktor made birdie at 14 or not, you feel like your lead's 2 or 3. So when you step on that hole, you're thinking, all right, if I can just par in, I should win this golf tournament. And so when you think about that, you're like, all right, is now the time to like really play for par? Because if you play conservatively but not aggressively at 16, that's where you can really make a poor swing trying to figure out, all right, where does this club fly? Did we even hit this in a practice round? Did you test it? So I'm not saying it was the wrong decision. I just think that it's one worth discussing.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's, you can't fault him going out and trying to win the golf tournament. I think that you're going to have more regrets if, to your point, you play conservative and you still make a big score, or, Viktor plays more aggressive and kind of nips you, and you're looking back like, man, well, my DNA is playing aggressive, so why don't we just stick to that?
I was standing on 15 tee box when JT made his putt, and I just saw the putter raise, which, by the way, I think we need to talk a little bit about why I think there's so many people that are fans of JT, which is like when he's playing well, dude, he's so much fun to watch. He's very much like Tiger, maybe not quite to that degree, but he's an entertainer. Like, he leans in, like putter raises, club twirls. In the moment, it just feels like this is a guy that's playing some just incredible golf, and he's leaning into his swaggerness, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, he's got like a steeliness. To me, is that what it feels like? Where it's like there's just that edge, that laser focused edge.
He
that's
does.
A little different.
100%, man.
It, like a Scotty, when Scotty's playing well, it's like he's just kind of, I'm just going about my business, and I'm really not gonna play this up too much for whatever reason, whether that's internally for my emotions. But JT knows how to both lean into that edge and kind of play to the crowd a little bit and feed off that and make himself play a little bit better.
Jordan's always been really good at doing that too.
Yeah.
getting the crowd on his side. I think it's important. But you can't forget Viktor, man. I just remember, so the putter raise obviously happens, and then we're for 14 tee or 14 green, which sits really down low. I don't think you can really make out the 15th green because of the hillside. So the loud roar that happened at 15, knowing that it was a JT birdie, I looked over and Shea Knight is like, oh man, he made another one. Like he just kept hearing the roars up in front of him the entire day. And so Viktor, I was just watching him during this, and like he didn't bat an eye, didn't turn around. He was like lining up his ball, and you would have probably thought to yourself, did he hear that, or is he just so in the zone to where he was just full focus on making this 12-footer, which was not an easy putt, by the way. The fact that he got up there and sunk that putt was so impressive because it wasn't necessarily an easy one to make.
Big time Iceman vibes, I believe.
It really was. It was, and then
yeah.
And then the iron shot at 16, man, from Vic was one of the best iron shots I've seen in that type of moment. Because, dude, he almost went birdie at the snake pit. He obviously didn't look like he was ever going to birdie 18. But if he had to, I guarantee you would have probably had a pretty decent look at birding all the holes of the snake pit, which has probably never been done before on a Sunday.
There's another iron shot I'd like to talk about, and I apologize to all our viewers out there because our YouTube comment functionality is not working properly, but I manually added this one in from Marcus Rainwater. Can we talk about Billy's up and down? Because sweet mother of God, Billy Horschel. I think prior to this, the most athletic flip over the toe of your right-handed club and make a left-handed move on it I'd seen has been a number of Jordan Spieth escapes.
Yeah.
But Billy Horschel looked like he hits 30 balls a day left-handed with the toe flipped upside down. Hits a 126-yard pitching wedge to 32 feet and then makes the birdie putt. And it was good left-handed action. I mean, that was stunning.
Did you hear my call on this? Because I was still in the booth at this time.
I just saw the social media.
Yeah, you need to go watch the social of like me commenting on it because it happened quick. Like it was something that was probably on tape. So they went back and played it. And it was quick. And I was like, he's hitting lefty. And oh my gosh, this ball is in the air forever. Like at the apex of this was like a normal wedge shot. I mean, just straight up in the air, like lands with generally some spin on it and like stops to the front of the green. And then we come back for the putt. And I had said, I think that's the best left-handed shot by a right-hander in PGA Tour history. And as I'm saying this, the ball is about to roll in, and all of a sudden he makes birdie. And it was like, what are we watching? It was just absurd.
We need to find, the next time we have an opportunity to talk to Billy Horschel, wherever that is, we need to ask him how often he practices flipped over left-handed shots. Because there's no way, right? Like, unless he's ambidextrous in other parts of his life, there's just no chance that's the first time he swung a club flipped over left-handed.
Shoot, man, that's a great question.
It just looked too good.
It was I mean there may be a better left-handed shot on the PGA Tour by a righty, but if this got to be in the top 2 or 3, just one of the all-timers.
Without a doubt, you're not going to get any argument from me on that. The other items we need to recap outside of the finish here at Valspar are I need to get your Golf Rage medal podium for the week, okay? And here are the submissions. This hit the Gala club toss, which was kind of like a for those who didn't see, you can go find it on social media. It was he let the club go when he initially swung it, because this is what makes it more than just a normal club toss. Like he had to go retrieve the club off the ground and then rip it back and then throw it again, just to really illustrate how upset he was. We had the Patton Kizzire putter punt, which that's a new one. I've not seen a club kick in quite some time. And then bent the shaft, ultimately withdrew. It recently issued an apology a few minutes ago on social media. A lot of the comments there, people saying, listen, happens to everyone. It also was hilarious and a really good kick. And then we had, in my opinion, the funniest one, the Adam Hadwin sprinkler bust, where he just slams the top. I don't know if he knew the sprinkler was there or not, but slams the top of the sprinkler and it's spraying everywhere. And all of a sudden he's just sheepishly standing over a sprinkler head for 30 seconds to a minute, trying to figure out what the heck he's going to do to get the water to stop shooting everywhere during the middle of a PGA Tour event. All hilarious in their own way, but I need you to rank these. Give me a bronze, silver,
That's impossible.
gold.
It's impossible. What I was trying to figure out, we were at dinner the other night, and all of these guys having anger issues, like anger management, Tampa version, was what do you think the collective amount of fines were going to be from this week? Because you mentioned 3 of them, but I think there's a couple other ones, like Jordan behind the green at 10 was another, and then I think Justin Lauer snapped a club with his leg at the 9th hole. So I think we're probably approaching 20 to 25,000 in fines would be my guess from this week, which is
what's standard
electric.
fare for a club toss? What's
I don't know what the rule book says. One of my fines that I had on tour was like a half of a fine. So I think a regular one, like a regular good old fashioned fine is 5.
Okay.
And then I think mine was half, like 2,500. It's still not fun to. I mean, you write a check to the kids, which is always great supporting the kids. But
what was the fine for? Like how? Like was it just a lazy club toss or
no,
what was
I snapped a club on my knee.
Okay.
This was at 15 at PGA National. You could find it on YouTube.
Oh, that's right. I think we talked to Shane Lowry about this.
And I apologize. And the reason why Shane got the double fine, so like a 5, like I think his was 5, was that he went to social and basically said, "Not my fault. In fact, I might even do it again next week."
Well, okay. In the grand scheme
Which
of
I
like,
love.
I
That's
love
why you
that.
love Shane.
I love that. So Shane Lowry. In the grand scheme of things, if you're snapping the club over your knee, you're not endangering anyone except for yourself. You just very tidily just take that, put that in your golf bag. I could see why that'd be less of a fine. Depending on the violence of the club toss, I could see 5+. But if we're talking about putter punt for Kizzire, that could have, all told, yeah, I think you're probably 20. I'd take the over on 20 if you're saying 5's a standard.
Yeah, I think if 5 is standard, I think a couple of those gentlemen may have gotten the extra bit. I'm sure there's some different levels that I've never found out about. Maybe the fine system has changed to where those numbers have gone up too for certain things. But you have to imagine that Patton's was probably going to be the biggest fine, as we've never seen a putter fly this far in the air off of somebody's foot. Which, by the way, one of the all-time great, just moments when it comes to not celebrating, but felt like celebrating for us as fans.
Have you ever seen anyone kick the center of a shaft of a club?
Not that well.
Like I guess I've seen like kind of throwing on the ground and kicking in the head, but to get it square right in the middle of the shaft.
I wonder if his foot hurt because he didn't.
That's what I was wondering.
He didn't lip his way off. Like that's a classic broken toe type of situation. But maybe just a perfect amount of flex in the shaft allowed for perfect amount of rebound to where it just propelled this thing up in the air like a tomahawk. The poor volunteer is just sitting over there, right at the green. All of a sudden he just goes like, and then like his head never comes down, and then he goes, and that's when you knew this thing really flew high up there in the air. And I would love to hear from whoever played with him how high it really was in the air.
Yeah, we needed a different angle on that I don't know we're ever going to see publicly.
I'm happy we had an angle. Just anything.
Great, but just to see the thing soaring and the direction it was twirling and flying, it was probably majestic.
Well, here's the thing: like we're not here making fun. We're obviously just laughing this thing off because this is a hilarious clip to watch. But golf is hard, man. It wears you out mentally, and I think for Patton, he's been on just like this MC where he's missed so many cuts like by one shot, and that'll just wears on you. I think he said he had a bad back. I'm not sure how bad it was. I would have been ready to get off that golf course if I punted a putter. But if I had to rank, all right. So back to your original question. Back to
the podium. Let's
the
get
podium. I'm not giving a bronze away. I'm giving 2 silvers.
Wow. Okay, I love that.
That's how good I was. That's how good the Thigala club throw was.
Yeah.
He didn't hold anything back. So much good in how he planted that lead leg and just was able to not early extend and really bring those hands in to really get a kick on the head.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how you coach it. So you love to see that him and Hadwin are getting the silver, and Patton's getting the gold.
Yeah.
And it's tough too, and I hate to do that to Thigal and Hadwin because they were gold medal worthy
efforts.
Yeah.
I think
What do the comments say? I can't see any comments.
Well, yeah, this is the whole YouTube thing. We're not seeing any ranking their own versions of this.
We'll get to it if you're listening.
We'll get to it. Yeah, drop in the chat here on YouTube, and I'll read some of these out. But I'll say for me, I think just the end of the Hadwin clip made me laugh the most. He's got just a sheepish look on his face, like, I can't believe I just did this. And my caddy takes my club and is walking off, and I'm just sitting here with 2 streams of water coming out either side of me, just wondering how I'm going to resolve this problem.
It's honestly
so
like
good.
it's like taking the risk to go out in your front yard to go get the mail in your underwear, and all of a sudden you're locked out, and then you got to go to the neighbor's house to get the key. This would be I'm just thinking of like embarrassing situations that you put yourself in to where you get that look that Hadwin gave, which is, how did we end up here?
Phenomenal. It's phenomenal. But I will, the other 2 were majestic, and might have to. I'll say it this way. You learn a lot and how to kind of properly disperse your anger. And I'll say we had Kevin Kizzire on the show. I think it was beginning of last year, and I picked up something new from him with a video that you shared where
That's right.
I was throwing my clubs kind of underhand for the most part after bad shots, but Kiz had this new finish where he kind of finished and he threw it up top forward.
That's right.
And that was kind of a light bulb moment.
And
if
you could time it right, as far as just understanding the rotation of how hard you're going to give it, you can get it to land flush on the ground, and that's where you don't break it. Where you break it is when the club or the shaft enters, if you throw it hard enough, especially close enough to the ground, that's when it gets too steep. And that's when you have all the problems of the club breaking. So if you're trying to throw a club and you're trying to make sure that you don't have to go and tinker with bending the shaft, make sure you give it a little bit more. Give it a little bit of yards.
It's like casting a fishing pole a little bit. It's like you're casting out.
Yes.
But here's the problem: if you're going underhand, it can go up. Like, that's rocketing straight up. That a lot of problems can happen. May or may not have seen someone throwing a 3-wood into a tree that wasn't coming down. I can't confirm or deny that. But this way, it can be soft, and it has an arc to it. And to your point, it lands soft. You just have to have the spatial awareness to know, where can I throw my golf club? Where are the tee markers? Are they breakable? And if you see enough that you watch the pros do it like Kiz, you get it right, and it's perfect. Perfect.
And you don't want to be, an idiot out there. The last thing you want to have to do is throw a club 50, 60 yards. That's not something that any pro wants to do. Now, pros have done it. We just had Every on recently. He's done it, and I wish I would have been there to see it. But for the most part, these guys, they try to, act well. They want to be role models to others. So you got that to consider. And I think that's why it's always a good option for this type of club that we're trying to support.
We got some comments trickling in now. Ruben, the sprinkler was top because he had the instant regret and stayed there trying to fix it. Have to agree with you there, Ruben. And I'm going to pop over to YouTube real quick. Jack Bergen, OG Jack, says punt, club throw, sprinkler head break. Can't rank Hadwin higher because being Canadian, he was too apologetic. Jacob Van Brunt says the pure athletic ability of Patton's punt gives it the gold. And Raven chimes in to kind of close us out. Today is the Hadwin's anniversary. Jessica's gift, a new sprinkler head dedicated to her. So,
dude, she killed it on Twitter this week. I don't know if you kept up with her.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. All fun stuff. Look, to your point, golf is a very, very hard game, and the more we can make light of the failures and move on and learn something from it, that's what it's all about.
Totally. All about. And it's really hard to segue out of this whole.
I'll do my best.
Well, let me help you get there.
Okay.
I think a question you asked me after Bay Hill was really just discussing whether it was worth players talking to the media after, the Morikawa thing kind of sparked a conversation with Rory McIlroy, not talking to the media after the US Open, Morikawa after Bay Hill. And I think you got to give JT a lot of credit for how he handled that interview. The one thing that I said in my answer about the Morikawa stuff was that if the guys don't want to talk to me, it doesn't bother me. But what it does allow you to do is to be really gracious in defeat and to, be a really good role model, but also you probably earn respect not only from your your colleagues that you play with, but also you'll probably pick up a lot more fans along the way too. And I think JT did a really good job of that this week.
Yeah, I think maybe my initial take was a little bit too spicy, so maybe I want to walk that back a little bit. But
You just said you didn't care, meaning like there was nothing that they could say that would
Right.
change your mind. But I felt that after JT's interview that he said enough that it made you feel really positive about his game moving forward, and that yes, he was upset he didn't win, but he wasn't. I never got this sense of sulking at all. It just felt like, hey, I left it all out there, played really good golf, and there's a lot to be excited about, and I hope I'm able to get myself in position at Augusta. And I was like, that was a perfect answer.
Well, and I might not care, but there are a lot of people out there that do care. And to your point, you can definitely make some new fans if you are in the mental frame of mind to go stand up there and immediately take some perspective away from your loss. And that takes a lot. Like, I don't know that I'd be there every time. I don't think that Colin was there after Bay Hill, understandably. And you know, so, but I do, to your point, I did watch that 5-minute sort of post presser with JT and of course on the NBC broadcast as well. And it's clearly a guy, again, I think that was my one takeaway from the week is obviously he's been playing good golf. That wasn't in question, but it just really seems like his mentality is in a really, really good place. And I think that's a cool thing for a guy that's like becoming a father gives you a bunch of life perspective. And it's just awesome watching that sort of thing grow. And I think it's going to lead to really good golf. So.
Well, I think he's playing really good too.
Yeah.
So I think just the overall confidence he has in himself, he knows he's going to get himself back into contention. So I think that's the fun part about it. It's like, hey, didn't get it done this week, but I'm playing good enough to go win many more tournaments this year.
The hard segue out of this is going to be over to Sage Valley, the Junior Invitational at Sage Valley, where Miles Russell has won once again. Listen to these stats. So Miles Russell's win at Sage Valley, his 4th straight against junior competition. He's won 4 out of his past 5 amateur starts. Has not finished outside the top 10 in a non-pro tournament since last summer's AJGA Junior Players, where he tied for 16th. This victory comes at a tournament alongside past champions Scotty Scheffler, Joaquin Niemann, Akshay Bhatia, Austin Eckroat. Further improves his chances to make Walker Cup history. And I should tell you, I'm quoting from a story written by a friend of the show, Brentley Bromine. Really cool, comprehensive, worth kind of digging in further there. Should Russell qualify for this year's Walker Cup at Cypress Point, he'll become the event's youngest competitor ever. And this was interesting. We were talking about this before. We were thinking probably for the U.S. side, but maybe not for GB and I, given the talent pools. He will be the youngest competitor on either team, breaking the record held by Scotland's Conor Graham by 4 days. Russell's currently the 24th ranked American in the WAGR, but at least 7 of the guys in front of him are expected to turn pro. And so here's some of the names he's throwing out there, many of whom you might recognize, others maybe not so much. But 10 players, including at least 1 mid-am, will earn places on Captain Nathan Smith's squad. The lock should be Jackson Coyven out of Auburn and Ben James out of Virginia. Texas's Tommy Morrison and mid-am Evan Beach look like they're pretty strong chances to make the team.
I think it's back.
Back. Oh, I might have misread that there. Whoops,
Yeah.
I'm reading fast.
I grew up playing against Evan, which is why.
There you go.
He's a great. I mean, he was an incredible player.
Could have been a copy paste there. I'm not sure. Vanderbilt's Jackson Van Paris and Auburn's Brendan Valdez are both seniors and attended last December's practice session, but just depends on whether or not they want to stay amateur or turn pro. And the last high schooler to represent the Americans in Walker Cup was Akshay Bhatia in 2019. And before that, Jordan Spieth and Patrick Rogers in 2011. So, I mean, I don't know how much you caught of this while you were working the broadcast this week, but I just love watching Miles Russell swing the golf club. Just such a smooth lefty move. You followed him at Bandon, wasn't it, right?
What I wanted to ask you, I followed him at Brandon when he was like 13 years old, just a young little kid. But obviously, congrats to him. He's an incredible player, and he's just so good at the game of golf at such an early age. But what I wanted to ask you is, so you just kind of mentioned Jordan Spieth, Patrick Rogers, both high school kids that made the Walker Cup team. And let's put those 2 guys in, or just Jordan Spieth, for example, in this day and age of NIL, having agents representing you in high school, having colleges reach out to not only for you to have a full ride, but we'll also pay you X amount. What do you think that number is relative if you put Jordan Spieth in the same, as far as he was the same age as Miles Russell, would he make more or less money at college as far as just like what he would be offered? Does that make sense?
Are you saying compared to what he would make if he just turned pro?
No, just mainly just about like college, I would say. Because it's
Or
hard.
You're asking me to compare Jordan and Miles?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
And
tough
like,
question.
or just how much do you think Jordan would have commanded coming out of high school? Is that easier for you to answer, you think?
I think the thing that is hard to
Is he getting $500,000? That's what I'm asking.
More.
You think so? You think Jordan was getting more than $500,000
Well,
to go to Texas?
Here's the tough part about it is like we know who Jordan Spieth is now. Like we know that he's lovable. We know he's got a high Q score. We know that fans love to follow him no matter what the state of his golf game is. And of course, some of that's built on his success early on in his career.
Don't forget how good he was as a junior, man.
Well, totally. But I guess I'm saying like we can ballpark the ways in which his career would grow if all these things existed because we know kind of who he is as a person now. Whereas Miles, I've seen interviews here and there. I think he was on Subpar. Seems like he's a really smart kid, good head on his shoulders, and should have a ton of opportunities. But I just don't know how to ballpark like where he goes both as a person and as a professional when he gets to that point. I think the interesting discussion to be had there is, would Miles make more money in school for a year, however many years he wants to stay, or turning pro? And
you make more turn pro.
You'd think so, but I think a lot of it depends on, we're seeing the game of college golf grow in some ways as a television product, and we're also seeing sports streaming services change. And I think like any league or thing is an afterthought compared to the established thing until you get enough eyeballs and critical mass to where all of a sudden, sponsors do want to sell against this. And there's some form of rev share thing that's going into place at the collegiate level now where you can get these guys enough money to stay. So like I could see a scenario in which if the collegiate, I don't know if it would happen fast enough for Miles to make that decision to go to college instead of going pro. But if that thing grew as a TV product or as a streaming product, wherever it's going to be, to the point where it made sense as a financial investment for a school or a booster to go give Miles Russell a big old bag to come play at, North Carolina for a year, I don't know, it'd be interesting.
I think it's worth playing in college for a year. I just think from the PGA Tour is not going anywhere. As far as how much you'll get paid, that's probably not going to change a whole lot. A big college season would even raise your stock even more because you're playing against guys that are 3 to 4 years older than you and beating them. So I think there's value to that. And then the other part that I think kids that, for instance, like a Blades Brown, like he's not going to be attached to a college. I think that means something. I think players pick up a lot of fans having a University of Georgia, that fan base always cheering on all of their Georgia golfers or whoever it is, whatever college you want to name. I think there's an aspect to that I think you got to take into where will Miles go to college? Will he not? He's homeschooled now. He basically treats his life right now as getting ready to, be the, whether it's professional golf or college, I'm not quite sure, but he's definitely already preparing to, try to be, a really high level golfer.
Yeah. And he's going to get there obviously one way or another. And it just depends on the bet you want to make on yourself as like an individual brand. To your point with Blades, I think the Blades Brown point's a great one. I mean, you yesterday on the broadcast were there watching JT walk up to the first tee, and you heard about 5 or 10 or maybe more roll tides. I think that's a deeply valuable thing, of just having a place to call home and just a built-in set of supporters.
I think so too. I
also think too, we talk about how much we love this PGA Tour U program. It's that to me is as good a way as any to earn a tour card if you really are elite and have consistently outperformed your competitors. Like the stats I just read about Miles Russell, there's nothing to tell me that he shouldn't be able to go to college, and if for some bizarre reason he isn't able to earn his status, his card through the PGA Tour Accelerated program, he'd probably do it at the end of 4 years through the regular PGA Tour U program. But like that's good enough in terms of getting your card that it really takes placing a big bet on yourself to do it the other way. And we've seen guys like Akshay Bhatia do it.
Yeah,
Blades Brown in the process of doing that. But it's just like that takes a lot of stones, man, to say, hey, I'm going to put all that aside.
You just got to grow up quick. Some guys are ready for it, some guys aren't. So we'll see what he eventually decides to do. He's still got time to figure it out. So we'll see.
Yeah. Also, I think we just have to note to close out the Sage Valley piece that two of the players in the field of Sage Valley this week, Charlie Woods and Kai Trump, their parents are now dating. So do you have any comment on that, Smylie?
Love's in the air, baby.
Love is in the air. I mean, can you think of a social media post that took you by more surprise than that one? Like ever?
I thought it was a fake account at first.
What do you think that was a, hey, like you got to post this, like you got to post me? That was the situation there.
Well, there was already rumors about it, and
getting out in front of it.
I think it's more just announcing it yourself, controlling the narrative. Be my guess.
Yeah,
hard to ask for privacy though, like when you're dating Trump, right?
The whole thing was confusing to me, but you know what? God bless him. Like, do you, man? Love is love. Love is in the air. However you want to go about that. If you want to just bamboozle all of us with a post that seems like you were, being forced to do it, but also asking for privacy.
He was standing, by the way. That's good.
Yeah, a lot going on in his world right now. But yeah, and it sounds like Charlie Woods had a respectable finish this week, relative to his status. What he got?
Yeah, I hope he keeps playing. It's nice, of course, that his dad's Tiger, and that's the only way he got invited to this field as far as just rankings go. But the fact that he can go play against better competition, see how he stacks up, I'm here for it. I want the kid to be successful.
Yeah. And that seems like a really cool tournament, that Sage Valley tournament. I think that's
you should sign up, dude.
You think I make it as junior? Does it have to be junior? What's
I
the
think
cutoff for junior?
I think you need to go back and
38?
shave your. You just got to shave your beard again, man.
What do you think, huh?
I mean, it's a better version of yourself, but
you think so? You think the beard's better than clean shaven? Because I was thinking about cutting it for the Masters again, but I don't want to do it if it's gonna look weird. You got no opinions?
I feel like we need just one shave guy, as far as the beard or no beard.
It's like an allotment.
Yeah.
We have one guy's clean shaven on the show. Jack's got a big.
We need
beard.
people to take us seriously. We need a veteran with some experience, and I think a beard really shows that.
So I'm inherently unserious when I don't have a beard. That's good. That's good to file away. I'm starting to get some.
No,
real heavy
I would just say
grays.
that you would say that I would look less like a veteran with less experience, and have yet to see the world. So much to do, but a guy with a beard, different story.
He's been around the block a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we should get one of those Carlos Boozer spray paint beards on you for the Masters to see how that goes over. I think that could look really nice on you, man.
I
Paint
kind
you
of
up.
I kind of grew one out in the fall, and it just gets so itchy. I could kind of do it. Looks okay. It's not necessarily something that I think matches up well with the Southern swoop, but I don't know. We'll see.
Never know, man. I mean, Scotty Scheffler's got a little. He's a swoop guy, I think.
I'm thinking about doing a Southern swoop fade soon.
Southern swoop fade, a little low taper fade, like the kids.
I've been thinking about it for quite some time, and I don't know. I feel like I need to go on one of these internet what would you look like hair situations, and really plug in the different options just so I can see it.
Just Smylie showing up at Augusta with the Riz. Just rizzing people up with,
That's right.
with low taper fade.
That's right.
Throwing out all my my Gen Z buzzwords here. I don't know what any of them mean, but I'm gonna stop before I get myself in trouble. All right, I'll tell you what, Smylie, we're nearing the end of this program today. I'm gonna give you a little dealer's choice to what we want to close out with. Okay, we could do a little bit of Houston Open preview, not making our picks yet because we got Rory and Sky in the field, or we could do Live X. We're Xing it. We're closing the show. We're not going to do Live Open qualifiers. We're doing nothing else. You're done?
Dude, I'm sick, man. We've
You're
been
just
doing
out
this. We've been doing this over an hour. If they want to
Batteries.
figure out the Live stuff, then go Google it.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. That's you can Google the Houston Open field. You can Google who qualified for the Open via the Asian Tours International Series, and that's all we got for you. Is your battery on 0 at this point? We're just completely done.
I need a nap. Yeah. And I got to go get the medicine from Walgreens. I just got a lot to do. Leaving town tomorrow. And if anybody in the comments can please suggest a guest for us tomorrow, we need a guest. And my brain has not been great as far as figuring that who that would be. So,
But the guy who fixed the sprinkler at Valspar. Could be a little bit of that.
we need a guest tomorrow. We need to figure that out.
We've got I got a guy in about half hour, a little crew arriving here to build a putting green in my backyard. Gonna be good for the short game. Good for the short game. We'll see how that goes. All right, go get a nap, buddy. We've talked about golf for entirely too long. And I guess everybody enjoyed the Houston Open this week. And come find us on Instagram.
The dicey weather Houston Open. That's all I'll say.
Is it dicey?
Dicey.
Man, I got to think about what I'm going to come with on Wednesday, because I think I want to do like a chili recipe for Texas, and I'd like to do maybe something a little healthier, like some Mediterranean. I'm going to come up with 4 good recipes, and then you're going to bring your picks for the one and done.
Okay.
Tell me if any requests. Thanks so much, everyone, for hanging out today. That's about all we got, and we'll talk to you back here very soon. See ya.
Peace.